Hi everybody, my name is Lynn Hayes. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I've been an astrologer for many years, and every Monday I put up a video about what's going on in the skies and how you can use the astrological energies to get the most out of the week. So before we talk about this week's planets, I wanted to just talk a little bit about the eclipse that just happened last week. I did, of course, talk about it a week ago, but a whole week has gone by, and of course it was an intense week as we expected. Eclipses do tend to be intense. They are aligned with the nodes of the moon, which are involved with ideas of fate and destiny. So there usually is some kind of awakening or like an unmasking or exposing of something that may be in the subconscious that needs to come out. Sometimes that just happens on a personal level. Sometimes on a personal level, we don't have any kind of experience with an eclipse. It can be most intense for people whose personal charts are directly affected. But last week's eclipse was strong and powerful because of Mars. And I'm going to be talking a lot about Mars pretty much for the rest of the year. Mars is in Pisces right now, where it tends not to be that strong. Mars in Pisces is kind and compassionate and loving, but Mars really likes to be aggressive and strong and selfish and needy. So in Pisces, it's not as effective. And what happened last week was we had Mars in a challenging aspect to the sun and the moon during the eclipse. And to make that even more intense, Mars is at its strongest point, its closest point to Earth, which we call the perigee. And so it's a very powerful time for Mars. And Mars is all about need and boundaries and aggression and assertiveness and defending yourself and doing all of these things that are healthy when they're done appropriately, but when there's been a lot of oppression or a lot of overpowering of certain groups, there's a tremendous amount of rage that we're seeing come out. And there are some other reasons why that's stronger in the United States, which I'll be talking more about that as well. There's going to be a Pluto return in the US chart. It's actually already started. And Pluto has to do with creative destruction and transformation. And we're certainly seeing that in terms of governmental functioning in the United States. That's going to continue, I'm afraid. But the result is going to be some really powerful transformation. So in any case, the eclipse energies, one question a lot of people ask is, how long does that last? Some astrologers will tell you that an eclipse lasts for 6 months. I haven't really seen that to be true. Generally, a new moon and a full moon will last for about 3 days, the energies of that alignment. Eclipses, probably a week, maybe on either side. It depends how personally you were affected. In terms of what's going on in the world today, you know, we have the COVID situation, which is one issue. We have a conjunction of Jupiter to Pluto, phase 2, that's happening at the end of June. We have already 4 planets retrograde right now. We're going to have Mercury retrograde, that's going to be 5. Over the summer, we're going to have between 5 and 7 planets retrograde. So it's hard to tell how long the eclipse is going to last, and how really are you even going to notice or be able to tell what's the eclipse and what's all this other stuff. So generally right now we're in a state of pause because of COVID. We are in a state of personal transformation because our lives will not be the same. And what do we want to leave behind, and what do we want to take into the future? These are all very big issues that we'll be talking about but for now, I want to talk a little bit about what's happening this week. So the alignment between Mars, the challenging square between Mars and the sun and moon during the eclipse, is still in effect because Mars and the sun are still within range of that conflict. So the sort of Marsy intensity, irritability is still definitely kind of in the ethers, and that's going to take several days to move away. And over this week, Mars is going to start to move into a conjunction to Neptune, and the Sun is going to be in a square to Neptune. So between now, so I'm recording this on the 8th, between now and about the 14th, so pretty much the whole week, we're going to be having the Sun and Mars interacting. So this frustration, irritation will probably continue. Once they get within range of Neptune, which I would say is going to be probably the 9th or 10th, then that irritation is not going to go away, but Neptune softens it, possibly create some confusion about what do we want and how are we going to really express our needs and our desires, and how are we going to make things happen? What do we even want to happen? There can be a lot of confusion around that. So just watch for that this week. And what's going to make that potentially a little more confusing is Mercury, of course, will be turning retrograde on the 18th. It's already started to slow down. And when Mercury's movements start to slow down, we start to enter the retrograde phase. There's a lot of different ideas right now about the shadow period and whether or not there is one. I'll post a link in the description box to an article I wrote about this. Some astrologers think that it's when the Sun-Mercury inferior conjunction starts, and for some it's 2 weeks, just sort of an arbitrary 2-week range where a shadow starts. And I think we have to be careful because Mercury is retrograde for 3 weeks, 4 times a year. And if we tell ourselves we can't do anything during that period, that's 5 weeks, potentially 4 times. That's 20 weeks. That's 4 to 5 months out of the whole year where we're hamstrung. We can't take any action. That's just not possible. We can't live our lives like that. So first of all, we have to know, what does Mercury retrograde even mean? And of course, I think I'd like to do a whole video just about that. But because we're heading into Mercury retrograde, the important thing to know is that matters of information processing, communication, learning, details that we take in or that we express to other people become more critically important. At the same time, we're paying less attention because Mercury's retrograde. We're looking back, we're saying, what did you say? I thought you said this. I didn't mean to do that. In fact, today I recorded this whole video, and then because I was in a rush and not being careful, the video disappeared. Now, was that the fault of Mercury retrograde, or was it my fault for not paying attention? I'm going to vote for the latter. So it's just an important time to pay attention. Don't put your life on hold, but do be very, very careful about what you're doing and what you're saying and who you're saying it to and how they're hearing it. But again, we're going to be having 5 planets retrograde, and I don't think we're even going to really notice that this is Mercury retrograde. I don't think we're going to be able to say, oh, Mercury retrograde did that. It's going to be, oh, was it Pluto retrograde? Was it Venus retrograde? So anyway, just know that we are in this lead up to Mercury retrograde. Mercury is going to actually turn retrograde. I think I set this on the 18th. That'll be next year's video. So the only other thing I wanted to talk about is the Black Moon Lilith, which is a point. It's not really a planetary body, but it's a point in the sky, and it does seem to highlight rage against a deep moral outrage against oppression. It's particularly connected to female oppression, feminine oppression, because of the archetype of Lilith. But it also has to do with oppression against the weak, oppression against the peoples who have been held back. And, you know, that certainly is an issue right now with the Black Lives Matter movement. The Black Moon Lilith moves very quickly. It has a quick orbit. And so its influence doesn't last for a really long time. But the 8th and the 9th, and we might feel it again, the 10th, Black Moon Lilith is in a challenging square to Jupiter and Pluto. So I think a lot of this rage, even though the eclipse is behind us, the Black Moon Lilith is still kind of sparking out or sparking up some of the sense, more of the sense of outrage. Don't be surprised if there starts to be some feminism that comes into the discussion over the next couple of days because of the Black Moon Lilith and her agenda, which is to regain equality within the human species. So a lot going on that week. I hope you find that helpful. Please leave any comments, questions in the comment box below. I love to have your feedback. If there's anything you'd like me to cover in the future, please let me know that. And I'll look forward to seeing you next week. Take care and have a great week. Thanks for watching.